what do you think are the important jobs of a DJ? Keep people dancing, all right? Looking at the crowd. Look at the room and see, where are they at, what sort of taste they might have, and what do they need right now, okay? To create a vibe, basically to sort of set the atmosphere, going from song to song, sort of like making it make musical sense, So you're not just playing records, you're trying to connect it to the last thing that you played. Bringing gear. Yeah, sometimes DJs can hope that the right gear is waiting there for them, but in many situations it's not. Choosing music, yeah, absolutely. Choosing music ahead of time, before the party started. Promoting, there's a flyer over there. Some DJs really hate that part of the job. I'm one of them. But I have to admit, it's part of the job. It's letting people know where you're going to be playing. And what sort of music is going to be there, what sort of party is it going to be. So letting people know all that was happening. What a lot of you were just doing a couple of minutes ago was digging. Digging for music that you might not have heard or your audience might not have heard before, trying to track down those tracks that you will then later play in a party. And that's what's going on over there. Introducing new music. DJs have actually figured out what the visual presentation of their show is going to be. And in some cases it's video, for instance. You're actually authoring video, and in MIT there's a lot of people who work with code to actually generate live visuals. But it might be something quite as simple as thinking about how you're going to dress. In certain dance scenes, you might be responsible for decorating the place. Selecting music in the middle of the party, physically performing in front of the crowd. Over there we got Grandmaster Flash. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, his group's record is over there. He will juggle records, sort of going back and forth between different records, both for musical purposes, but also to give people something to look at while he was performing. I want to sort of also give you some context of what live dancing events looked like before DJs came along, right? We had bands. We had live bands making music. Whether you've got like kind of a jazz band on the right, you've got a calypso band over there. That's Maya Angelou, by the way. And we had jukeboxes. This is the rock and roll era in the 1950s. A lot of the records, the small records with the big holes, like this one right here, are actually jukebox records. I'm going to give you an idea of how they work. So it's an entirely mechanical device, and people will quite happily dance to this. Over in 1947, there was this guy called Ron Diggins. It says Boston, but that's actually a town in the UK, so not this Boston. There's some accounts of him over in the early 40s setting up this thing called the Degola, where you got two turntables just like this, but you can see the hand crank that's underneath them. Where he would actually play these, what was called music for dancing. Not very specific over there. A lot of these records will run at, we've been talking about 33 RPM, 45 revolutions per minute. Those records will run at 78 revolutions per minute. So that's a lot of cranking. But he will basically be a DJ for parties, where instead of a band, he will actually be standing on this thing that he built called the Degola. Let me show you a nicer picture of that. This is a slightly more updated version because you see the disco ball. Because a lot of the places where he was playing had no electricity. That's why you got the hand cranks. He's probably one of the more well-documented people of early DJs that started appearing in the 40s. There's another person called Thorpe, Bertrand Thorpe. But you can sort of see how from this sort of arrangement, there is a device in between two turntables to play records. And then, you've got a crowd of people who are there to dance. How that just directly connects to what a DJ does today. But I want to remind people that didn't really exist before the 40s. Now, there was radio, People would play music over the radio. Until about the 40s, all public dance events were basically live music events. So one of the reasons why a DJ became a popular form of entertainment is that a DJ is cheaper to hire than a band. There's only one person that you need to hire when it comes to a DJ. When it comes to a band, you have to hire a whole bunch of people. In some cases, there is in some cases there might be disagreement about payment among multiple people. With a DJ, you only need to negotiate with one person. But that comes with problems, and these are problems that you need to be aware of if you want to be a DJ going forward. While there are people who work in groups, DJ crews, and a lot of you are going to be practicing in crews, for the most part, you need to know how to function entirely alone. This might be because you're going into a place that already has a sound system, has equipment, and you're just playing for an hour or something. Or you're responsible for the speakers and the equipment and the music and the entertainment for the whole night. You have to learn how to operate entirely by yourself. The crowd needs to be able to hear the music that you're playing. In the early days, before solid-state amplifiers, that was a real problem, and it'll be interesting. And over this semester, we're going to be seeing some of the solutions that came about, just solving the problem of amplification, just making sure that the audience could hear music that was louder than their own footsteps, than their own conversation. How to prevent silence between tracks. Someone mentioned transitions, right? That's just another way of just saying, make sure there's no gap between songs. Making sure that by the time one record is running out, or the good part of the record that you're playing is starting to run out, making sure that you have the next song ready. A lot of DJ jobs do require you to use the microphone. In some cases, it's very functional, like, Bob, your mom is here to pick you up. Please see her over at the back. Did anyone lose a phone? That sort of things. In some cases, you're going to have to pick up the microphone. And you have to make sure people can actually hear what it is that you're saying. In some cases, it's more performative. You might have some banter. You might be able to rap. You might be trying to get the crowd hyped up. I know at least one DJ who, when his turntables failed in the middle of a set, decided to beatbox while they were finding replacement equipment. And people loved him for that, because it's like, they didn't have to stop dancing. Making the music sound interesting. Some records are, not great entirely on their own, but if you manipulate the way how the music works, you get a more interesting sound out of them that people get more excited about. And in many ways, that's actually the history of hip hop. If you're playing in a place where there are liquid beverages, some of that's going to end up on your equipment, whether you want it or not. How do you deal with that, right? That might be maintaining your equipment in between events. That might be keeping people away from your equipment with their drinks. One of the things I love that you take away from this class is, by the end of this semester, you learn not to bring anything liquid near a DJ. All right, whether or not you are the DJ, you learn to help the DJ keep liquids away from the table. And you learn yourself that maybe drinking while you are DJing is not a good idea, for multiple reasons. Let's see, playing in different places. And in some places, it's very, very, very dark, and you can barely see what's going on. And especially if you're dealing with records, you can see how that will be a problem, because you need to read these labels, right? And in some cases, you have lights going right into your eyes, or lasers. Those are the worst, actually. And you're going to have to work in those environments. In some situations, you have to work entirely by feel, because you can't actually see the things that you would like to see. In some cases, you have to manage the audience. Is the audience getting a little bit too bored, or are they getting too rowdy? Is the audience, starting to do something that wasn't what you had originally planned, but maybe you can roll with it, right? A dance circle shows up. People start breakdancing or something, but you weren't playing a breakdance set. Well, how do you adapt to that? right? And of course, finances, making sure that you break even at least, and you don't, you don't go broke DJing. So these are kinds of the problems that DJs have to solve. And we're going to be hearing a little bit about all of this throughout the entire semester.